Hi all, welcome back. Thanks again for watching these videos. On this episode, we're going to go ahead and remove the axles from the subframe. We're going to reboot them, re-grease them, get them rebuilt, ready to go, put back into that subframe before we lift the subframe back onto the car. So stay tuned and let's go ahead and load this video. I've already taken off the nuts and bolts here that hold the axle to the differentials. So you can see on both sides I've already removed that. So now what we'll need to do next is we will need to take out this pin here. We'll take out this little sleeve that kind of holds it in place. And once we get to that, we'll be able to get to our nut and remove that. Usually it's a 36 millimeter on the rear on the 90s Nissan Infinity cars. So I'll go ahead and we'll get this off today. Cool. Once you get that out, you'll see this thing slips out here, and then you'll have access to your 36 millimeter nut. And here I have my 36 millimeter socket on my impact here. Once you have it unbolted from both sides here on the differential side, as well as that 36 millimeter there, it's a good idea to thread on the nut a little bit so then you can actually hit this with the hammer to pop it out. Now if you don't have this nut on it and you just start slamming away, you could easily just eat up and mess up these threads. So putting a nut on there and hitting it saves the threads. Now essentially, you should be able to just come right on over here, grab, and pull out your axle there. You want to go ahead and just repeat the process with the other side. Alright, and once you have your axles off, you can go ahead and begin to take apart the boots and see if we can get this CV joint off of this spline here, and then we'll go ahead and pack it with some more grease, and then we'll do the same for this. These OEM style clamps, if you can see, they kind of are a fold over type. You need to get something in there that's thin enough to fit under these little flaps here and pry them open. You'll see I find that a razor blade or a small little flathead works best. You just want to be careful. Once you have it under there, you can kind of fold it over and I'll show you what that looks like. You can see there that it has those little flaps. And then you should be able to go ahead and just grab a little screwdriver, lift up just like that. And now it's loose. And you want to go ahead and do the same thing with that one there. Up. You want to go ahead and just slip it off like so. That one's going to be in the trash because our new kit came with some new ones. Here we are. Now you will want a lot of paper towels and a lot of shop racks for this next step when we take off this boot here. So what we're going to make it a little bit easier is to take our razor blade, and we can literally just cut a line all the way through. Go ahead and pry it up a little bit. We can run it all the way. I'm gonna run it all the way around, just like this. Just so we can break that old seal. That. So it's a little difficult on this one. It's best if you have a vise, then you could set the actual drive shaft in a vise. And what we're basically going to want to do is we're going to want to hit here, not on the ball bearing itself, but there's like this little metal piece here that you can kind of see. And we're going to pop it down because there's a clip that is holding that on. You can see the clip there. Flip the axle around and we'll go ahead and remove the other boot. Yummy. And here I'm going to push the axle down into the housing to pop out the cap on the back of the housing. This will let the internals fall out. So once your parts are clean, you'll notice what popped out of here was these 6 ball bearings that were inside there and this retainer ring that sits right in this little lip groove here. So there's also an inner race and then this outer cage that kind of slides here up on it like that, and you could twist it. See, it sits in there and it has that movement. The ball bearings will sit in each one of those slots here. They will slide in, and this retainer ring will clip this in. You can see, I'll put the cap back on the back. Now, I just like to drop a little in there, not too much. And you'll see why here in just a second. So I like to get these assembled as much as possible. It's a little tedious, but usually if you can get one in like that, and you'll notice it lines up with these grooves. Here's another groove. Put one there. Lift it up just a tad bit. Another one there. Just like that. My snap ring. I want to snap it in there just like that. Alright, at this point, once you go ahead and pack this bottom housing with grease, what you'll want to do is you're going to want to go ahead and take your boots, both of them as a matter of fact, and you're going to want to go ahead and slide it down, this bottom one here, and then the top one, you're gonna slide it down like this. Reason being is, once we get the boots on, we're gonna go ahead and put on the top. And once we put on the top, you're not gonna be able to get your boot back on. So make sure to put your boot, both of them, back on before we go ahead and try to install this. I'm gonna go ahead and just slip the boot right over the top. And you'll notice that this housing here has this little lip, this little ridge that goes right along the way here. That's the same ridge that this boot has where the clamp is gonna go. And that's where you'll know that you'll want to set that down. So once those two line up just like that, that one's down. Now do keep in mind the shaft does have some little grooves in it as well. And there they are. There's that groove. So I have both boots on now. Cut a little corner out of the supplied grease. Like to pour it in there. I'll leave the old grease still in there. So here's the tricky part. You can see that little clip right up there at the top. When we stick this right on top here, you'll notice it slides down on those threads. So once you get it on the splines here, on those grooves that it needs to go on, might make your life a little bit easier if you take like a little flathead or so, and you can kind of push in that ring as much as possible. Squeeze it together before you try to hammer it down. Go ahead and put our nut back on, and we'll go ahead and give it some wax. What you want to do next is take your supplied clamps, boot clamp pliers here. This flat piece goes on this flat piece, and these little edges will pinch this together. Fill the inside of this boot with the remainder of your grease, put it up, then we'll clamp it. There you have it, your rebuilt axle.